Regular viewers will know that normally I do the talking bit first and then do the playing bit, but in this instance it's going to be the other way around. So the playing bit is first. If you want to hear my thoughts on this kit, then just, obviously just watch the whole video. If you don't want to hear my thoughts on it, you're in luck. You can stop the video after the playing. So anyway, if you're just here for the sound file, thank you for watching. Please feel free to subscribe, and thanks a lot. The one negative thing I'm going to say in this video, and it bums me out, but it wasn't enough to basically send the kit back again, was even this kit has turned up to me with an obvious visual flaw in the finishing. It wasn't enough to send it back, it wasn't enough to mention it, but it's there, I know it's there, and I could very easily point it out. So again, it's like the point in the video that I made, that I took down, was just exemplified yet again. That is the only negative thing I'm going to say in this video, because as you'd have seen, this is the Tama SLP steel kit. It is a limited kit for 2019, and despite everything I've just said, I absolutely love these drums. I really do. I ordered the kit pretty much as soon as I could at the beginning of 2019 when I heard it was being released. I've always wanted a metal kit, or particularly a steel kit, for forever. The Ludwig version, obviously that's a classic. It's probably the classic steel kit. I think that was a price. It's prohibitively expensive. And then you've got the DW drums, the steel drums, which are even more prohibitively expensive. But I've played those and they are absolutely fantastic. They really are. They're very different to these ones, but they're great drums all the same. And I had a good go, and I reviewed a kit a few years ago. So the kit consists of a 13 by 9 rack tom, a 16 by 16 floor tom, and a 22 by 16 inch bass drum. Now, the 13 inch mounted tom actually doesn't come with any mounting hardware. It comes with a Tama classic snare stand. I think that's what it's called. The only reason I'm not using it is because, and this is the one kind of flaw that I see with that particular stand, is that it doesn't go low enough for me. I kind of like having my tom quite low, and that sets it just, I mean, I do sit fairly low anyway, but you know, it just sits too high for me. So I'm just using the regular snare stand. The 16x16 is on legs, unsurprisingly. And right, so the makeup of the shells, it's a 1mm thick steel shell. It's got a bead, centre bead in the middle. I cannot remember what the bearing edges are like, but I will put something in, so that's there. You've got basically black nickel hardware on all of the drums. You've got Style Classic lugs on all of the drums, and on the bass drum you've got you know, matching matte black hoops as well. Now, heads comes with coated G1s on the top, and I think what a basically clear G1s on the bottom on the two toms. And on the kick drum you have, I'm going to try and get this right, it's an EQ4 clear on the batter side, and at the moment actually on this drum I've got my band's logo head, which is basically I think probably the equivalent of probably like a smooth white Ambassador single ply, basically, with the port about 5 o'clock. But what I will say about the kick drum is it came with both heads on, and I was actually taking the drum apart. The kit turned up at 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, and 3 hours later, after setting the kick drum up, putting a Kelly shoe in it, I took it off and gigged it. So in between sort of getting it out the box and taking the head off and changing it, I hit it with I hit the bass drum with, it was either a stick or just a screwdriver, I can't quite remember which, and the low end that was coming out of the bass drum was incredible. It was fantastic, and even my wife, who is wholly indifferent about my drums, even she could hear it and feel it. So those people who may see this and start whining on about there being 8 lugs on the bass drum, apart from, well, actually I have two things. Number one, you need to get a life, and number two, you're wrong, because this is one of the best bass drums I think I have ever played. And I don't say that lightly, given the regular viewers will know I have a Cravioso, I have an SQ2, what else do I have in here? I have a Style Classic Bubinga, I have a Style Classic Maple, I have some drums, you know, and this is definitely one of the best bass drums I have ever played. It has got so much low end to it. It's a joy to play. It really is. I found it a joy to play. The toms, as I have them set up here, they're both sort of quite high tensioning wise. They're fairly high, but not for any particular reason. It's just that I found through listening to them, listening back to them, and listening through my in-ears and sort of the mics and the recordings and stuff, they just didn't need to be any lower to my ear. The actually, while I'm going on about that, actually the snare drum is actually, I think, probably what started this off for the kit really. This is the SLP black 14x8 steel snare, and it basically has, except for the lugs, which as you can see are double-ended, you know, single lugs, it's pretty much the same sort of thing. So you've got the black nickel hardware, you've got the matte black shell, you've got the, you know, the bead down the center. You know, this is basically, I think, what spawned this kit. The only thing I'll say, and it's not a negative thing, it's just a personal thing for me. Now, I'm not the world's biggest fan of 13-inch toms, and what I found is that this has a real, just playing it has a real sort of vintage vibe to me. I feel the same way, a very similar way playing this kit as I would playing my Slingerland, but not so much playing the Craviotto. I think there's a little bit more of a sort of more contemporary feel with the Craviotto, whereas this just gives me the vibe that it's very warm, and there's not too much. I think it may be the way I've got it set up, but it's certainly there's not too much attack on the toms. It's just more of a sort of subtle, mellow sort of vibe, and you know, I really like that. I really do like that about that. About the toms. The kick drum is loud. For this, actually, I took one of the blankets out, so it is more of a sort of a rounded sort of sound, and certainly putting it through the Porter and Davis as well. There's a lot of oomph there as well. So it's a fantastic bass drum to play, as I said. And whilst I have actually done a video on this particular snare drum, you know, I've got an Evans heavyweight, which has basically got the reverse dot, if you can see that on there. And this is tuned. I mean, I suppose it's not actually all of that. I mean, it's fairly tight, but there's a lot of body to this, so it sounds very open, and I think it goes perfectly with the rest of the kit. You know, obviously I have used the kit with other snare drums as well, but you know, they work well together as a, you know, as a set, which obviously they're supposed to. Any questions, please feel free to ask. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.